We live.
Are we live? We're good? Ready to
Yeah, we're
go?
live.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pistons Talk Podcast. I'm Lance Caparosi. You know me. Follow me on Twitter at Lance Caparosi. Follow my co-host, Anthony, a.k.a. Pistons Talk, even though I'm pretty sure most of you are already doing that. Tonight, we're going live a day early because the Pistons play tomorrow. But we still got a lot of stuff to talk to you guys about. Let's get into this, man. Sada Baby, Detroit's favorite rapper,
Mm-hmm.
says the Pistons want to talk to him about being the Pistons Spike Lee. Real quick, though, do you actually think the Detroit Pistons called him up and they're like, Sada, we want you to be Spike Lee? Do you think that's how the conversation actually got started? Or I don't even know what to say from Sada anymore, dude. He's letting me down.
I don't know if like the PR department did that, but they probably were trying to book him for like a halftime appearance.
Okay.
Probably what happened because like last night at the game they had T Grizzly
Okay.
performing, which is another Detroit rapper here in the
Yep.
city. So I think Sada just wants to kind of be involved within like the city. Like he said when Isaiah Stewart and all those guys uh came to the city, he kind of was showing them around like all the the spots, kind of just bringing them in and kind of just showing them love. And he's like, you ever need anything, let me know. It's just kind of like a family thing with him. And I think that's what he wants to do with all the Detroit athletes that do come here, whether it's like, from the Lions, the Red Wings, whatever. I think it's just a family thing with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool if Sada wants to be Spike Lee. I get that, dude. He's a celebrity. Who wouldn't want to be the Spike Lee of the Detroit Pistons? But to tweet out that the Pistons reached out to him, which I'm not saying the Pistons didn't. They could have reached out to him for anything. Like again, he is a celebrity. He represents the city of Detroit. But to call him and be like, "Hey, we want you to be the Spike Lee," out of all of the people they could have called to say, "Hey, we want you to be the Spike Lee." I don't buy the rumor. Like, I don't buy it at all. I don't believe that conversation was ever had. I'm not buying it. I think it's BS. So, and I'm again not saying anything about the Detroit PR team. I mean, if you want Sada Baby to be the Spike Lee of the Pistons, fine. But I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it from Sada. I want the Pistons to come out and say this. But if you were to pick someone to be like the role to be the Spike Lee of the Detroit Pistons, who would you want to be the Spike Lee of the Detroit Pistons?
Oh, that's tough, man. That's really tough.
It is. It is. I
'Cause
think there's one great answer, but I'm gonna let you talk. So
I don't have an answer, man. I'm gonna let you go because I gotta think of someone because like you put me on the spot and I did not do my homework.
no, I thought you were just gonna say Jalen Rose. Like that's who I thought. I was like, man, that's like an Anthony because I think we've talked about like you're pretty. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but you and I have talked a few times, and I kind of think you think Jalen Rose holding down for the city of Detroit is pretty cool, right? Like kind of like what he does, how he talks about the Pistons on the national media. He seems to be kind of like the biggest cheerleader, which is what Spike Lee is for the New York Knicks. So I think naturally it would have to be Jalen Rose.
I would say him or Big Sean, maybe. 'Cause I know Big
Big,
Sean's more involved now with the Pistons. This isn't like a shot at Sada Baby at all. Like, I happen to actually like his music a lot.
same.
Uh, yeah, it's got some bangers for sure. But yeah, like if you were to make a list, like Jalen Rose, Isaiah Thomas, um, Big Sean, like just kind of thinking about like those type of players and celebrities and if you want to say artist, rap artist, it's like Spike Lee. When I look at him, I just think of like a huge celebrity. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Well,
it's like I don't want to like disrespect Sada Baby, but like he's not like on Spike Lee's level. Like Spike Lee is like he's huge. Like he's
exactly.
everyone knows who Spike Lee is.
Yup. Everybody's seen at least one Spike Lee movie. It's I mean, I think you and I can both sit here and say there's probably people that haven't heard Sada Baby's music. Like, Scuba Steve, again, no disrespect. Like, it's great that you've been able to do what you've done career wise. We're not knocking you for that. We're just saying we don't think you are, we just don't think you're the biggest. You're not the celebrity to be Spike Lee. You're not Spike Lee. Like, I think it needs to be someone that really represents the city. Someone that was there at the games, cheering them on before they became good, before they got popular, before it was the thing to do. We need that guy. Because, I mean, Spike Lee, I mean, he's been a fan of the Knicks they've been awful forever, but he's been a fan since the beginning. And I'm not trying to call it anybody's fandom, but like, was Sada a fan of the Pistons when they were bad? Like, I don't remember. I mean, some people can go further back on Twitter than me. I haven't been on Twitter in part of the Pistons community for a long time. So I don't know if Sada has always represented the Pistons, but it kind of feels like he has been in the last few seasons, has more on the bandwagon and has been more outspoken for the Pistons than he has in recent years when they were bad. Like, I never heard of Sada Baby until like 2 seasons ago. Like, I
Yeah.
think if someone's going to take on the role of Spike Lee, what you were saying, you got to be a bigger celebrity, but I also think you have to hold down for the team for a long time and, not just do it because it's the thing to do.
I like, here's my thing with it. I don't have a problem with him wanting to be involved.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he says, like, when you say he wants to be the Spike Lee of Detroit, like, when I think of that, I think of someone that is going to be at the game, sitting courtside, someone that's going to be, like you said, in the community, someone that's going to be there for players, for like he said, like, he's really close with Isaiah Stewart. He threw Cade Cunningham a birthday. Um, he even said he's going to apologize to Killian, said he's an asshole. Like, I think that's, I love seeing that. I have nothing against that, baby. Like, I want him to do it. I want him to be involved in the community. I want to see him at Pistons games. Like, if that does happen and the Pistons did reach out to him, dude, that's awesome. That's love. Like, I'm all about, like, him representing my favorite team.
Yeah.
And if he's not going to dog, like, I don't even blame him for dogging Killian because we've done it, right? The same exact opinions he's had, a lot of fans have right now.
100%, 100%. So
like, I'm not even mad at him for it. Like, it's whatever.
No, he had tweeted, it was something, I don't remember when it was, but it was a while ago. He had said something about Killian. I agreed with it. I even sent him a message, told him, hey, man, I agree with that. I texted the number because I've talked to Sada before, which is it's really weird. Like, I don't know how it all happened, but I've talked with him on the phone before. I doubt he even remembers it. I was trying to get him on a podcast a while ago, but I've talked to him and I've sent him a message saying, hey, I agreed with some of your takes on Killian and everything. But anyways, I don't even know why I said any of that, but I guess I was agreeing more to your point. You are right. We have said things about Killian. A lot of us have, whether you're a podcast host like we are, or you're just someone on Twitter with a voice, whatever, or YouTube, we've all said something. But I guess, like, I don't know. I mean, I just think Spike Lee is a symbol for the Knicks. It sounds crazy talking about this. And it's just like I don't know. There's something about Spike Lee. Like, that just seems so perfect of a fit in New York for Spike Lee. And if the Pistons if we really do need like a Spike Lee, or we're going to have someone there, I want them to be I don't want them to be exactly like Spike Lee, but I kind of want them to be like him when he's at the games. I don't know what that is, but it's just, there's something pure about Spike Lee at a New York Knicks game, I guess is what I'm saying. So, I don't know.
Yeah, like Kevin Hart, like, I know this is off topic, but he's a huge Philadelphia fan, right?
Yep.
Loves the Sixers. Like, he's at games, like, heckling fans, or not fans, like players courtside. Like, I remember a story he was telling, like, he was like talking to James Harden before he was on the 76ers, like, oh, you trash. And fucking James Harden goes off for like 50 on the Rockets and just beats Philly. He's like, see, it's your fault. It's your fault why I went off for 50. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see someone courtside just talking shit, getting behind players. Like, I've seen Jalen Rose do that. I've literally seen Jalen Rose, like, go behind players or, like, just messing with them. Like, if Sada Baby wants to mess with people, dude, I'm all for it. I want to see that. I want to see you mess with, like, Jimmy Butler or mess with, like, LeBron or something like that. Like, just do it. I'd love to see it.
Exactly. And, like, but I just think that role, it is a role in basketball. Like, Spike Lee is a part of the game of basketball. That is a role that he plays. He's good at it, whatever. I just want someone to be as good as Spike Lee, and I want them, and I want the antics. Like, but I don't want someone again, I don't want someone coming in just because it's like the cool thing to do now.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be the Spike Lee of the Detroit Pistons, you're there when they're good, you're there when they're bad. You're there when it's ugly. I want you to be there and I want you to heckle. So we'll see with Sada Baby. Again, I'm not against it. I just think it was kind of funny that he tweeted it out. I don't believe the Pistons reached out to him about being the. I just don't believe them reaching out and be like, dude, we want you to be the Spike Lee of Detroit. I don't believe that was a real conversation. Not hating on Sada, I just don't think that was a real conversation because it just seems too hilarious for it to be a real one. But again, who knows?
I mean, he was around in the Drummond era, so I mean, he was with us like when the Pistons were kind of like, I don't even know what you want to call that, like half-ass competing. So I mean, like I remember he said he wanted Drummond to be Defensive Player of the Year a few years ago. It's just like I have no problem with it. Like if you want to do it, do it. Like I'm all here for it.
All right. Well, I don't want to make this podcast entirely about Sada, and there's like 5 more things I could say, and I'm like, you know what? Just gonna leave it. It's all good. So we're gonna move on. It's fine. But should the Pistons send Killian Hayes to the G League? That is a question. I saw that floating around Twitter. I thought it was a good one to bring up on the podcast. So, you cool with me turning it over to you first? Like, what are your thoughts about Killian Hayes? Because he is struggling bad right now. I love the title that you put up on the screen. So what are your thoughts? Should the Pistons send Killian Hayes to G League, or you just say, let him play it out?
Yeah, so I made a poll on Twitter. I think it was like between an off game. I don't think we're playing. I think it was an off day because I'm looking. He's averaging like 2 points a game. He was shooting like 12% from three. He was really struggling, and almost 70% of my followers got over like 1,200 votes. Said yes, send him to the G League. Now I want to be very careful of how I say this. I don't want my words getting twisted. I would not send him to the G League permanently. I'm talking maybe a game or two just to get his confidence up because I was watching him in shoot arounds. His shot has changed again.
Yep.
Like it's even like before it was kind of like sideways. Now it's like he puts the side of his hand on the ball and then he's shooting it. And I'm just like, man, who is messing with his jump shot? Like, because that's what I want to know because like he's got no confidence offensively. We know what he is as a defender. Had a beautiful outlet pass to Cade last night, which was such a great pass. I love Killian Hayes for his defense and his passing. It's just I want to see him go down to the G League just for maybe a game or even practice with them just to get the extra reps because like I'm watching him play and it's just breaking my heart, man. It's just like I know that there's potential there and it needs to be untapped and we're just not really using him to his abilities because he's got to share minutes with Corey Joseph. Corey Joseph has to go out there and kind of babysit him half the time.
But okay, so just for people real quick, Killian Hayes so far in 6 games, I'm going to read you off his percentages. 17% from the field. That's on 6 shots. 15% from 3. That's on 2 shots. 17% from 2-point range. That's 2-point percentage. And then his free throw percentage is 67%. It's just, I'm with you, man. I got to see him in the G League, man. Let him rebuild his confidence. Let him go play basketball and feel good about himself again. I don't know what it is. I tweeted out his shot looks different. He's never going to be a good shooter, man. His shot is so inconsistent, man. Sometimes it's flat, sometimes there's a lot of arc, sometimes he's moving, sometimes his body's all contorted like he's fading back. I don't know what he's doing, and it's so odd to me that we're in year 3, and I understand he's had a weird career. Like he had the COVID. He had came into the COVID year. Then he got he tore the hip labrum, I believe. And then, he's had some minor injuries with the hand, the thumb, stuff like that. But it's year 3. We haven't seen that much of an improvement. He is a good defender, but I don't know if he's as an elite of defender as some of us think he is, where it's going to offset what he brings offensively. Like, I don't think Killian is good enough defensively to offset what he does offensively.
Yeah, it's like, sometimes when we were looking at comparables and kind of looking at him as a player of like what he could be, Troy Weaver used to comp as a Goran Dragic. I've heard people say Lonzo Ball, Marcus Smart. Like you
Understood.
said, like does his defense kind of erase what he can do offensively? And I think what I watched last night at the game is something that was kind of odd to me that like when he's coming up the court, he's not really sure where to be, like offensively. He doesn't know if he should be in the corner to spot up for three. He doesn't know if he should be directing traffic. I think if I were Dwayne Casey, I would just kind of strip it down, dumb it down, and just do pick and rolls with whatever big is out there because I think that could really help his confidence too.
Let's
Uh,
talk about. Oh, go on. My bad. Sorry, I didn't. I thought you were done. My bad.
it's all good. I just think like obviously Marvin Bagley's out, and I really thought the chemistry there with him and Killian would really grow because that's a big lob threat, and Killian's such a great passer. Jalen Duren's a very good player. They're still kind of learning the chemistry. We all know what a defender he is, and it seems
Yep.
like he's blocking a shot every other game. That's just a top 10 on Sports Center. Um, like I said, I just want to see his confidence go up. I'm not ready to get on the trade bandwagon, which some people in the city are. I just don't really understand that. I feel like if he leaves the Pistons, someone will spend time with him, develop him, and he'll turn into, I'm not saying like an elite offensive player, but he'll be an average player because it seems like every other time I'm watching him in warmups, his shot's changing. And I don't know who's responsible for that.
So let's talk about coaching for a second. Do you think? I know the Pistons. They got Alec Burks is out, Marvin Bagley's out. They've had some injuries. Do you think the coaching has done him a favor? Do you think they've done him more of a disservice this year? We're only 6 games in. It's early. But
Mhm.
right now, 6 games into the season, do you think they have helped him and put him in a position to succeed, or do you think they have done a disservice to Killian Hayes this year?
I think they've kind of handicapped him
Mm,
in a sense where I've seen this lineup a lot where you have Corey Joseph, Hamidou Diallo, and Killian Hayes. And your
yep.
only shooter out there is Isaiah Livers or Jaden Ivey, or, maybe it's Kevin Knox. I think it for Killian to be the player that we want him to be, he has to have 3-point shooters.
Yep.
You
100%.
can't put him out there with Hamidou Diallo.
Nope.
Nothing against Hamidou Diallo. He's not a 3-point shooter. He's a slasher. You can't put him out there with Corey Joseph because Corey Joseph, it's Corey Joseph this year. It was DeLon Wright his rookie year, even Derrick Rose to an extent. If you want Killian to develop, the ball needs to be in his hands 90% of the time. He's not going to develop with another primary ball handler out there. Killian needs the ball in his hands to be effective. He's
Yep.
not a spot up shooter. You can't put him in the corner for three. Now, I don't know if that's a coaching thing. I don't know if it's a team construction thing. I'm not throwing Troy Weaver under the bus. He's done a phenomenal job taking over this team because we can both agree when he took over the team, it was a dumpster fire. I think it's a coaching problem, and I think it's a rotation problem. I think putting him out there with non-shooters isn't going to help him at all.
Yeah, in my opinion, the coaching staff for the Detroit Pistons, they've done him a disservice this year. It's only 6 games in, and I get it. There are injuries on this team. Alec Burks is out, but dude, you can't put him with shooters. You gotta the best shot creator you can put him on the floor with is Corey Joseph. Dude, we see Killian Hayes struggling. You need to put him in the backcourt with someone that can take the pressure off of him. And when you know the clock is dwindling down in the offense, nobody's doing anything offensively. He needs to be out there with a player that can create his own shot, that can take the pressure off of him. That's what you
Yeah.
need from Killian Hayes. If you're telling me you believe in this kid and you believe that he's a player, and you're telling me that by drafting him 7th overall. You're telling me that you believe in Killian Hayes and you believe this kid can be a player, but you put him in the worst, shittiest positions you possibly can. Dude, Durant cannot shoot. Hami cannot shoot. Corey Joseph is Corey Joseph. Put fucking Isaiah Stewart in there with Killian Hayes. I don't care that Killian Hayes doesn't have a lob threat. Spread the floor out. Let him create. I mean, we're not getting anything. You just said it. He's not. You can't use him as a spot up shooter. Okay, take that off. Take that. I don't want to see him spot up shooting. at all. Like, I don't. I want to see the ball in his hands for 17 minutes a game, and I just want him to create because that is what he's good at. That is how you are going to restore Killian Hayes' confidence by putting him in a lineup without Hamidou Diallo. I'm tired of Hami. Like, I love Hami, but I'm tired of Hami. Like, I'm good. Like, he's not going to be an all-star. He's not going to be this great player. He's not going to be that. He is what he is. I want to see Killian Hayes. I'm over Hami. I want to see Killian Hayes in this final year. This is the final year I'm giving Killian Hayes. Even though that doesn't mean anything to him, it means something to me. This is my final. This is the final year for me to root for Killian. I just want to see the Pistons finally put him in a fucking position to succeed. I'm tired of watching him just struggle out there. I'm tired of criticizing this young kid that can now finally buy a beer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm tired of doing that. So please, I'm begging you, put him in a position. Even if it's bad, just let him figure it out. But you're not going to let him figure it out. You're doing him nothing, putting him in a backcourt with Corey Joseph and Hami Diallo and Duren. And I'm not saying Duren's a bad player, but right now, he's not the right player for Killian. He's just not. Like, he's a good lob threat. I get it, but Killian needs more. He needs someone to spread the floor. Duren can't do it. Isaiah Stewart can. Put him with Isaiah Stewart. Have them run pick and roll. Because I don't know why. Sometimes it looks like Isaiah Stewart's throwing some weak screens for Cade, but he throws some hard screens for Killian. Put him out there with Killian Hayes. That's what you need to see. So, I don't know. I'm ranting, but I'm going all over the place. So that was my thing on Killian Hayes with the coaching. But he's terrible offensively. What do you want to see him work on offensively this year? Because it's a developmental year, folks. Fans watching, fans that watch other Pistons podcasts, I don't know what those guys are saying. I'm telling you right now, this is a developmental year. It's going to be a long season. There's not going to be a lot of wins, probably. So it's a developmental year. What do you want to see from Killian Hayes this year?
I just want to see him have a consistent jump shot.
Yep.
And it's like, I didn't really think his jump shot coming into the NBA was that bad. I thought it was okay. I thought the release was fine. I thought the mechanics were fine. It just wasn't falling. It was just, more reps thing. Like, I'm not comparing myself to an NBA player, but growing up, I was a terrible shooter.
Yeah.
But I practiced at it, and I'm a damn good shooter. Like, I just shoot threes. Like, people hate playing pickup with me because – I just practiced at it. Like, I think if he could just work on his shot without someone trying to say, like, well, we're going to have you put your hand on the side of the ball and shoot threes to put, like, more arc on it. Or I don't even know why you would even do that. Like, it just seems unnatural with him. Like, my biggest thing with him is, like, I'd rather him get with the shooting coach, like Lethal Shooter, for example. I would love Lethal Shooter to get his hands on Killian Hayes. This kind of get in the lab with him and figure out what the hell is wrong with this coaching staff of trying to change his shot like every other week. Like, I know that I'm really high on Killian. Yeah, that. Like, I have a Killian Hayes jersey. Like, I was high on Sekou Doumbouya and Killian Hayes. I have a Sekou Doumbouya jersey in my closet. I'm a sicko. Like, I'm so high on this kid. Like you said, he's just old enough to buy a beer. I just want to see him have a consistent jump shot. And like you said, put shooters out there with him. Put Isaiah Livers out there with him. Put Kevin Knox out there with him. Give him the proper spacing for him to be effective. I just think that, like you said, the Pistons coaching staff hasn't really helped them. They've kind of handicapped him because they can't fully trust him yet. Like, when Ivy was out, Killian Hayes didn't get the start. Corey Joseph did.
Yep.
And it's just like, if you're not focused on winning, because it doesn't seem like we are this year, it kind of seems like we're in games, but the rotations put us out of games.
Yep.
It's like Casey's not really trying to, compete. He's just trying to, I don't know. He says teaching lessons, or, I'm trying to teach these guys how to defensive switch, or I'm trying to put them in the best position to learn. Well, if you want him to learn, you got to put him out there. You can't handicap him with guards that are going to take the ball out of his hands. So that as I said, I'm getting back to it again. I'm ranting, but I'm just frustrated, man. I'm frustrated with these rotations, man. Like, I left 5 minutes of that Hawks game last night because it was a disaster. I had to watch Corey Joseph for almost 30 minutes last night.
dude. And I'm so tired of the switching on everything too. It's so confusing to some of these players, but that's for another podcast. But the moment you said switching, like they have to learn to switch, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm getting heated. But I'm gonna keep it on Killian Hayes. And I just, dude, honestly, from Killian, learn a runner, a floater. Just that's it. Like, even when he attacks the rim, he fades back, and it bothers me, dude. He doesn't even go straight up. So don't even go all the way to the rim, dude. Just hit it with the floater. Hit it with get a runner. Just do that Tony Parker stuff mid range, But you're right. Like the jump shot, I don't get it. And I was with you, man, when he first came in the league. I thought it was kind of awkward, but I didn't think it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the one thing he needed to work on the most with his jumper was going straight up, because the one, like, I played basketball. I've been playing basketball since I was like 5 years old. I went to a couple shooting camps when I was a kid. I even have this strap that you put on your hand to keep it in place when you're shooting and everything. So, I mean, I've been to shooting camps. I learned it all. And like some of the things that they taught us in shooting camps were to go straight back, that your shot changes when you fade back just a little bit or you fade forward. And sometimes you don't even know you're doing it. But also the most important thing, his name was Jay Wolf, by the way. That was the shooting coach. The most important thing Jay Wolf taught us at these shooting camps was, when you're practicing, you practice game speed. You don't practice, if you're going to shoot like this in the game, that's how you're going to shoot in practice. And I think that might be one of the big things with Killian, is that sometimes I see these videos of him and I know I'm not in on practice. I'm only seeing a short video. It might be like a minute or two, but he seems pretty lackadaisical. Like he does, I don't know what the schedule was like. I don't know what they did, but he doesn't seem like he always wants to be there at those practices. And again, I'm just watching a video. I'm just watching like a short little clip. So I'm thinking, man, are you running hard in practice? Are you shooting jumpers like you would in games? Are you doing that in practice? Because if you're not doing it in practice, that shit is never going to translate. We're going to be talking about Killian Hayes in the same way we are today next year if he's on the team, because it's just not going to, he's just not, it doesn't seem like he's going to figure it out. And I'm not trying to call him out, but it just seems like if that's how he's practicing, like what we're getting in the games, no wonder he hasn't improved. Like, no wonder. And man, I'm going all over the place because I'm just annoyed, man. I'm just tired of critiquing this kid. Like, I want him to succeed, but dude, I don't want it to be given to him. I want it to be earned, and it just doesn't, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like he wants to be here. That's part of it too for me. And that has nothing to do with his offensive game. So I'll try to keep it on that part. I just want to see him work on consistent jumper. I don't care if he can shoot threes or not. Forget the threes this year. Work on everything from 15 feet in, 16 feet in. Work on that. That's what I want to see from Killian offensively. 16 feet in. Just say, hey, this part of the floor, you're only shooting from here and inside to the rim. That's it. We don't need you shooting 30. We don't need you shooting 3-pointers because can't do it. And it's messing up your shot. We're not going to get consistent offense from you trying to do all this stuff.
Yeah, what I saw yesterday is he was so hesitant to even shoot it. Like, his confidence is just gone. Yeah. Like, there was this one layup where he switched it to his right, to his left, and he tried to hit it off glass. It hit off the glass, but it didn't go in. And I was just like, man, like, his confidence is so low right now as a basketball player. It's actually sad to even watch. That's why I mentioned in the beginning of the segment, the G League, to get his confidence up. Yeah. I'm not like you. I will kind of disagree a bit. I'd like to see him shoot threes because last year, I know I've mentioned this before, before he had his thumb injury, he was shooting at a 40% clip in the beginning of the season. Around this time, first 10 games of the season, he was shooting like 40% from three. So I just want to see him get his confidence up. I don't know if he's going anything like personally in his life, like mental health. Like we just saw the Josh Primo news yesterday. I don't know if he's going through something like that. You never know. But I will say he was one of the last players to come out and shoot around. Him and Cade were probably the last two. Him, Cade, and Jaden Ivey were probably the last three to come out and shoot around, before the game. So I really don't know what's going on with him. I hope everything's okay with him, like, mentally or whatever, because we don't know. But yeah. I just want to see him be a good basketball player at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I understand like people watching this. I am speculating. Like I'm not trying to bite my tongue on it. Again, I just like when I remember watching Sekou, man. I was talking to someone about this a while ago, and they were like, there was a text conversation. They had screenshot it and they sent it to me. They're like, dude, you were right on. You were right on about that one game. I'm like, yeah, that game where Sekou left the bench, went over to the sideline under the basket, took his shoes off, and he was away from the team. Like that's type of that when I'm watching a game and I know it's like a blowout, I watch for stuff like that. And you don't really see it that often in an NBA game. But when you know a player is struggling, like Sekou was at that time, I started watching for those little things where I'm like, okay, does he feel like is he good with his teammates? Like, is he trying to be away from the team? Like, what's going on here? And I saw that in the game. I'm like, all right, it's never gonna work. The dude's pouting. He's crying. Like he's not working on his game. He's over on the sideline because the coach asked him to go play 2 minutes in the final 2 minutes of a game, and you don't want to go in there and play. It's instead you're going to pout on the sideline. I'm not saying Killian is like that, but that's why I speculate because I see things like that. And sometimes with Killian, it's like the body language thing. Like he drops the shoulders, his head goes down. It's just those little things in the body language tell you it's something's going on. Like something's not
Yeah.
working. And
I think it's more mental.
yeah, it could be.
I don't even think it's like an attitude thing with him, like he doesn't want to be here. I just think like mentally he's just not confident in himself because like to your point with Sekou, like you said, he pouted if he didn't get his way. He didn't want to go in garbage time. Like Killian is not like that. It's more of like up here. He's not confident. Like, can I go to my right? Can I go to my left? What if my shot gets blocked? It's like he overthinks. And I think if he just stops thinking and just plays and just does it, you can get more confidence that way. I just think he overthinks everything to the point where it's just like he freezes up or he makes, bad decisions. So hopefully, he can get it figured out this year because I do think if he doesn't get it figured out this year, Troy Weaver will have to make a decision whether he wants to, what he wants to do with him, whether he wants to resign him or whatnot. But I feel like we've been talking Killian for over 20 plus minutes. I know there's more topics we want to get to, so we can wrap this one up for sure.
Yeah, no, I there's more I want. There's like I'm thinking as we're going on, I'm like, all right, we got to end this, but we are going to mention his name on the next segment, and it's when Alec Burks returns. Who loses minutes, Killian Hayes or Corey Joseph? Because I didn't throw Hami in here because I feel like Hami's the odd man out, and I feel like it's ultimately going to come down to Corey Joseph or Killian Hayes that Alec Burke takes minutes from. But I mean, who do you think he takes minutes from?
I think Corey Joseph, honestly.
Okay.
I think, like we were saying in the last segment, he needs shooting.
Yep.
For Killian. That's a 40% three-point shooter right there in the backcourt. To me, I think Alec Burks, I hope this doesn't happen, but I could see Casey doing this. Alec Burks may put the ball in his hands as more of a combo guard, kind of like a point guard, Yep. And I really hope he doesn't do that. I hope he uses Burks the way he's intended to be used. I know I always mention this guy on the Pistons, Wayne Ellington. He was on the Pistons years ago. I want Casey to use Alec Burks the way he used Wayne Ellington, having him just run off screens and be that three-point shooter. Define a role for Alec Burks. Don't try to make him do too much. Don't try to make him be a Rodney Stuckey. Just have him play his role. Have Killian, run your second unit with Burks. And I think it'll be really good for Killian and Burks.
So I'm actually thinking about the lineup right now. It probably would be something like Killian Hayes, Corey Joseph, Alec Burks, Isaiah Livers, and Duren. Well, I guess Marvin. I'm also factoring Marvin Bagley returning. So we'll just say Hami's out. Man, I think the direction the Pistons are heading in now, you're definitely going to take minutes away from Corey Joseph. But, dude, if they think there's still a chance of making the play-in or the playoffs or something, you might see minutes being taken away from Killian. It really depends on what direction the Pistons want to go this year. Like, if it's just a developmental year and they're just planning on losing and developing the young guys, yeah, Corey Joseph's going to lose his minutes. But if the Pistons and the coaching staff think there is a chance for them to redeem themselves and come back from this 1-5 start, yeah, you're probably going to see minutes taken away from Killian Hayes because at this point, Corey Joseph's a better basketball player and probably helps your team more than Killian Hayes. But I'm going to go ahead and say I agree with you. I think when Alec Burke comes back, because just based on the way the Pistons have played, they're 1-5. Yeah, those minutes are going to be taken away from Corey Joseph. That's what I'm going to go ahead and say.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, Corey Joseph, like, there's this play last night, bro. I was laughing so hard. Corey Joseph, like, he doesn't really play defense. It's so funny. Like, he'll, like, when they switch something, and he obviously didn't know what they were switching, and he ran straight to the basket, and DeAndre Hunter's wide open for three. Dude, I was losing it. I was like, dude, what the hell's going on?
So you ever notice, like, when there's a mistake on the floor, Corey Joseph will just he just throws his hands up and like looks around. But then, do you think you could, if you were to play a game of like shots with Corey Joseph throwing his arms up, like how drunk do you think a person would get if they just took a shot every time Corey Joseph threw up his arms in a game?
I don't think they would get drunk, but they would laugh. It's just
tipsy.
Like defensively, like he doesn't play defense. He just fouls. Like he tried to stop Onyeka Okongwu, and he just grabbed his jersey. And Okongwu was like, "What are you doing, dude?" Honestly, man, like I'm happy for Burks to come back. I don't know when he's coming back though. Like him and Bagley are the only Pistons on the injury report. Noel is actually healthy. He didn't play at all yesterday. He was shooting threes in warmups, which was kind of curious to me. But
do you want to see Nerlens Noel play for the Pistons this year?
I do.
Same. Who do you want to see him with? Like, do you want to see him with Cade more or with like Killian Hayes more?
See, I'm to the point where I would start Duren right now.
Same.
Because I think when Cade and Duren play together, there's more cohesion. Not to say him and Stewart don't have chemistry, because I do think they have chemistry. I just think when Duren's in the game, he kind of impacts it more defensively because he can protect the rim a little bit better. And I just think there's more chemistry with them together. I would love to see Noel possibly play like a third string center, like if Stewart does get in foul trouble, because I think that's basically what they're doing with him right now. But I think defensively, I mean, you should at least play him in a second unit just to see what it looks like. Yep. Because we're not even playing him, and he's a guy that can actually run a little bit of dribble handoff offense, which we've actually gotten away from it this year a little bit. We're not doing it as much, I've noticed.
Do you think Isaiah Stewart is looking for his shot a little too much offensively? I thought that was kind of funny. I saw that in what game? It wasn't the last game. Who did they play before their last game? Man, that's gonna bother me.
Washington, I believe.
I
think it was the Hawks twice, and then Washington this week.
Okay. Yeah, just one of those games that he was in. He looked like he was looking for his shot a lot. Like, it just seemed like there was not a shot on the floor he didn't want to take. Like, I love that. But if that's what Isaiah Stewart's going to start doing, like looking for his shot and hunting for it, let's bring him off the bench, man. I'm okay with that. If he wants to be the sixth man, that's cool with me. I'd be okay with it. Give me I want to see Duren start. Like, I really do. I think I'm with you, man. He's a difference maker. He doesn't need the ball in his stance. He's just going to pull down rebounds, block shots, intimidate guys driving down the lane. Like, it's going to be fun with Duren in the starting lineup.
He's got a very high field goal percentage too. I mean, he's up there with your boy Mitchell Robinson. I think I saw a stat. He was like top 5 in field goal percentage, like at 58% or something crazy like that. Like, he plays his role really well. I just think with more reps, you're going to see a guy that can run pick and roll. He's a very underrated passer. And if that jump shot starts to develop, I mean, you got a guy that could possibly be kind of like a Bam Adebayo, maybe. Like, he's a nice player, man. Like, the fact that he's 18, like, when you watch him on TV, you're like, oh yeah, he's big. When you see him in person, man, like, that guy is built, man. He's chiseled. Like, I was like, holy crap, I can't believe we got him for nothing. thank you, New York, or thank you, Charlotte, like whatever. It's just like, holy crap, man.
Dude, it is kind of crazy. Like they made a reference to the Deshaun Kemp in one of those games too. Man, this is really bugging me that I don't know what game this was. But yeah, I want to see Dern start. I think Isaiah Stewart is looking for a shot a little much. I don't know. There's just so much wrong with this team right now. It kind of sucks.
I don't even think it's the team's bad. I just think the way we're coaching them is just kind of like, if you want to do defensive switching, okay, have the personnel for it. Like, they have okay defenders, but what I noticed is, dude, no one talks on defense.
Yep.
Like, if you're gonna switch, you need to say who's got who. Like Grant Long said it during the Pistons post game a few nights ago, saying like defensive switching is the easiest thing to play in the NBA. He's like, but the Pistons don't communicate. They don't talk. Like, he's 100% right. Like, I do not hear any talking. Everyone's just like kind of looking around. No one saying I got him. Like, they can't even play zone effectively because no one talks. Like, you see Casey on the sideline saying like, hands up, hands up. They don't even do that. I don't know if they're like tuning him out or what. Like, you see that all the time where players just kind of tune out the coach. Like, they don't listen to the coach. They're like, whatever. But like I said, if they want to switch, they're going to have to communicate, and they're just not doing that right now.
So who do you think needs to take that? Do you think that's on Cade? You think Cade needs to be communicating defensively?
Oh, Cade does. It's like the message isn't getting across. Like, I saw Duran doing it during the summer league a little bit, like where he was communicating. But I think sometimes that the NBA game is so fast paced. It's like that's where you kind of need that veteran. Like, you need like that Jay Crowder. You need that wing defender that has been there, that can guard 1 through 4, and it's a dog and it's going to talk. Like, that's what the Pistons, I feel like, are missing right now. It's just a wing defender that's got experience, that has playoff experience, and can kind of teach these guys of what it takes to be a good defensive team, because we all know they can score, but they can't defend, man. Like, that's the biggest reason why we're 1-5 is we just don't play defense.
There's one answer that's already on this Pistons team. That's a great communicator. He's always looking to make that extra pass and just hit an open shot. It's Isaiah Livers.
You're gonna make me mute your mic, bro. I swear to God.
Anytime I can bring him up, I have to.
I know.
But this was something like you and I were talking about this. Like I think when Mike Curtis was on the podcast, we had said what we want to see from this team in preseason and during the season. And I think all three of us had said we just want to see someone out there communicating defensively. Like, we had it with Kelly Olynyk, we had it with Mason Plumlee. We thought we would be getting it with Isaiah Stewart, but he just has not taken on that role. And that's why I think it's important to get a guy in that starting lineup that is going to talk, that is going to communicate, that will take on that leadership role, because it is important. And if you're not going to find it in a veteran, just let Isaiah Livers do it, man.
I will say Bojan does communicate. Dude, he's so smart. Like, I was watching a play yesterday, and he's just kind of sitting there out of bounds play. He's just like kind of sitting right at the key. And he's telling Isaiah Stewart, he's like directing traffic. He's like, go there to set up pick. And Isaiah Stewart goes there, and Bojan runs around Isaiah Stewart's pick, and he makes a 3. Like, he's so, like, he's not really like a vocal leader. He's just like kind of like pointing in directions like where they should be offensively. Like, he's leading in that charge, but like to my point, like, we need someone like defensively that's going to direct traffic, like kind of being like an extension of the coach out there. I just don't think we have that. And you have to remember the Pistons, like, an average age are under 25. I think they're 24.9 years old. Like, one of the youngest teams in the NBA. And, young teams usually don't win a whole lot. Like, Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies are just like an anomaly, honestly. Like, they're a young team too. But, I mean, we just need someone that can communicate and play defense. And if you're going to switch, you got to get someone that can do that. And we just don't have that right now.
100%. So, at the beginning of the season, let's talk about this because I think this is fun. Vegas had the Detroit Pistons at 29.5 wins. After the first 6 games, would you take the over or under? That's
I would take the under.
same.
Because I don't know what's going to happen at the deadline. I feel like you could arguably trade 5 players on this roster right now, and I think you could get value for them. I think Hamidou Diallo could get traded. I feel like Corey Joseph could get traded. I feel like Alec Burks could get traded. Noel. 6. Bojan could get traded. I feel like Bojan could get traded for a first-round pick. And I don't know. I kind of got ridiculed on Pistons Twitter for it. They're like, well, why would you trade him? I'm like,
dude, you gotta. That's the thing I don't. Okay, that's a whole nother topic in itself. But,
I know.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and it's just. I'm saying the topic in itself is like, well, why would you trade Bojan? Why would you trade him? It's like, dude, why are you going to keep a 33-year-old forward on your team? Yes, he's averaging 22, and it's like one of the only bright spots of the season. But like, dude, he's not going to be on this. He's not going to be playing in the NBA when this team is ready to compete. You know, like, why not try to get something for him while you can? Like, he's not going to be here for 10 years. He's just not. So, yeah. Anyways, but 29.5, I'm going with the under on that as well. Let's talk about this Bleacher Report trade. You pulled this up and you told me about it. And the trade is Pistons trade Bojan Bogdanovic for Nikola Jovic and Duncan Robinson. Stupid trade. I don't like it. Yeah. How do you feel about this trade?
I don't hate it, actually.
Okay.
I've been talking with a lot of people, like, you know, Pistons fans. Like, I think these are the type of trades that the Pistons will probably get during the deadline because there's going to be a crap load of contenders looking for a player like him. And with this Bleacher Report article, it's basically saying like getting a PJ Tucker replacement to kind of throw some context on there. They call it I think it's Jokic or Jokic. I don't even know. He was a lottery pick or outside of the lottery pick. I was actually really high on him coming out of the draft. Another foreign player. I do like him. Duncan Robinson. Now, this is where it scares me a little bit. There's Michigan ties in this organization.
Yep.
John Beilein, you already know. And a lot of people that work in the Pistons front office that you don't know, a lot of them graduated at the University of Michigan. So Duncan Robinson got paid. And when he got paid, he kind of wet the bed. Like, he did not shoot the ball from 3 that well last year.
No.
But I don't hate a trade like this. I think you'll see a lot of trades like kind of centered around him that are similar to this. But I feel like we're going to talk probably from, you know, November to February of what the Pistons could possibly get. And we're going to be breaking down all these trade rumors because I think the Pistons could get a lot for a player like him. Like you said, he's averaging 22 points a game. He's shooting, I think he's still shooting 50% from 3, which is like wild. He's right up there with Steph Curry, right behind Steph Curry in made 3-pointers per game. Like, he's around almost 5 3-pointers made per game. So, I mean, he has a ton of value. So the Pistons want to pull the trigger, they can. If they don't, and they want to re-sign him for a couple of years, win-win situation, man. But I do like this trade a lot.
See, I'm not high in this trade like you are. That's the only problem. Like, I don't mind trades like this. Like Duncan Robinson, yeah, he was a sniper. He got paid. I like the potential of Nikola Jovic. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm going to go ahead and say, we'll just say it that way. But for me, I'll say it that way. Anyway, yeah, dude. I mean, he's like a what? He was kind of what, a point guard through a 4 coming out of the draft, right? Or is he just kind of like a hybrid 3 or 4? I'm trying to remember.
People are saying this was Jokic's clone over in Serbia.
Yeah,
like, he was like a projected lottery pick, but like he kind of had a underwhelming season over in Europe, and he kind of fell to the Miami Heat. I believe he fell like late first round, but there's a lot of potential there with him where I would be intrigued with. But like I said, like if this was a trade with Miami, I would ask for a first round pick if they have one. I'm not knowing Miami, they probably don't because they trade all their first round picks away. But I mean, you got to give me something a little bit more than that.
See, the reason I'm not on this trade, again, like the Duncan Robinson money kind of scares me a little bit, but I mean, I know the Pistons do have cap space, so it's not a huge deal. But the Nikola Jovic, it's just I know he's only played 2 games in the NBA. I'm looking at his numbers, and I was just quickly reading some stuff. I honestly, I just think you'd have to be out on this guy. It seems like some of the articles I've just pulled up and have just read, like yeah, he is the prize prospect from the Heat, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people have that much faith in him. So give me a guy like if you're going to trade Bogan, I either want like a first round Bojan. If you can get a first round pick, I'll take that. Or give me a young guy that has shown something in the NBA. It doesn't have to be for a long time. It can just be a flash in the pan. Like if you were going to say like, I'm only throwing his name out there because I understand what is going on with the whole thing, but Josh Primo, if you had thrown him in a thrown him in a trade with, say, Duncan Robinson, I'd be like, oh, dude, I'm all for it because Josh Primo at that time, before all this stuff had happened, he had showed me something. And I understand he had he's played more games in the NBA than Nikola Jovic, but Josh Primo had showed something at a much younger age and had showed a little flash of something early on. And I feel like you haven't even seen that yet with Nikola. And it seems kind of stupid to write someone off after 2 games. I would love this trade more if I knew more about Nikola Jovic, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're going to see teams like Boston, all the contenders, Philly, the Clippers. I mean, I think I saw one like 2 weeks ago that had Boban and us getting Luke Kennard back, and I
I saw that
believe,
one.
yeah, it's like those are the types of trades that you're probably going to see rumors for the next couple of months because like he is so valuable as an asset for the Detroit Pistons that they could get some good players in return and kind of whether you get maybe a young player that's not getting a whole lot of time, like you said, Josh Primo. I mean, there's tons of young players in the league that just aren't getting the playing time. Like I think I saw Aaron Naismith. I forget what team he was on, but I remember he was in the
Yeah,
Sadiq Bey draft, and I was really high on him. I mean, you could probably get guys like that that are young players that aren't really getting a whole lot of playing time that you could possibly get and possibly draft picks. Now, if you want to go down that route, you can. If you don't, that's completely okay. You could sign him for a 2-year deal, and you got a guy that's a lights out shooter that Cade Cunningham's it's like his favorite option right now because he's the only player that can really score like outside of Cade. But I think it's just a win-win situation for Troy Weaver. Like he arguably could make like 5-6 trades at the deadline and just blow this team up and put himself in position to get another top 5 draft pick, which is absolutely insane because we'll probably get pretty deep into the draft
yeah,
talk later on when we know that the season's not going anywhere. But we're only 6 games in. I think that once we get players that are back, like a Marvin Bagley, like a Burks, maybe you get Noel in the rotation. I think this team will be better than advertised so far. But like I said, we're injured right now, and we're kind of just, playing guys that we just don't want to see on the court.
yeah. No, I'd chalk it up to that too. You said Boston. I started looking through their roster, and I'm like, if you get Peyton Pritchard back for Bojan, is that good enough? Like he's he's shooting 66% from 3. So there's something there, but I don't know. I'm not in love with that Miami Heat trade from Blue Report. Say that. I mean, you're right. Those are the type of trades we should expect, but I don't know, man. That particular trade I'm not in love with. 2 years ago
Yeah.
would have been more in love with it because Duncan Robinson was shooting lights out in the NBA. I think Nikola Jovic can still be something, but I don't know. It's only 2 games. I don't want to say too much about his game. It just, from what I just read though a little bit ago, just seems like whatever people were high on, they're kind of that's kind of going to the wayside. So, but
Yeah, I mean, some Pistons fans are already high on Gabriel Procida, if you
yeah,
guys
I
do
saw that.
remember. It was a second round pick. He's actually balling out over in Europe. And some Pistons fans are saying he kind of looks like Bojan. They said that if we do resign Bojan, he should take him under his wing.
There is one Pistons account that loves the Gabriel Procida player, and I love following him just because of it. He's a stand for sure for Gabriel Procida. You want to look ahead though for the next 4 games upcoming?
For sure, we can do that. So let me pull it up. Got to open my app. Bear with me. Oh, my internet's actually fast today. Holy crap! Hold me back. So the schedule. So obviously, you guys know we have the Warriors tomorrow.
Yep.
That'll be another teal game, by the way.
Oh, dude, don't tell me that.
It will.
I know, but I'd love to go to one. Love to go to at least one teal game this year. That'd be cool.
So I think we can both agree we don't have the Pistons beating the Warriors.
No, not at all. No.
So Monday at the Bucks.
Dude, okay, I'm gonna go out and just say they're not gonna beat the Bucks. I don't see them beating the Bucks.
Yeah. Well, we played the Bucks again on Wednesday on the 2nd.
Yeah, so the Pistons are going to start 0-3, and I'm going to say 0-3 to start this 4 game. If it's 4 games, right? I think 4 or 5 games this week.
Yeah, we have one Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the Friday game is a Central Division game. It's against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Would it be wrong of me to say that the Pistons might go 0-4 this week?
No, I mean it's very possible. Like I'm looking at their schedule. The only win I actually see is against the Thunder, and I'm not even fully confident in that because we both saw the preseason game where they got waxed by the Thunder. And I'm not trying to be negative, but I mean, like you got Steph Curry, you got Giannis twice. You got to see Donovan Mitchell, which it's just gonna piss Pistons fans off because you got Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland if he's back.
Wow. I just thought of it. You're right. Like Pistons fans are going to be pissed because this guy, Donovan Mitchell, is in the Central Division. And for many of you that might not know the history, the Pistons had an opportunity to draft Donovan Mitchell, but they drafted Luke Kennard over him. Like, what, 1 pick ahead of him or something? Like, crazy history. So, yeah, you're right. You probably just gave some Pistons – you just ignited some PTSD from Pistons.
Yeah, light it on fire.
What game are you looking forward to the most out of these 4 games?
You know, honestly, I'm looking forward to the Cavs game because of Evan Mobley and Cade Cunningham. Like I honestly think that's going to be really good, and then Donovan Mitchell. Like I think that'll be the one game where like you kind of look at the backcourt, look at Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell and the Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. Like that's going to be a high scoring game. Whoever plays defense is going to win that game. So shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Dude, I might. The Warriors game was my game of the week just because, like, you get Steph, you got Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson. You know, they just won the championship. That's always fun. But dude, I think you're right. The Cavaliers game, man, you're going up against Evan Mobley, him and Cade coming out of the same draft. You know, Evan Mobley, averaging 14 and 5 this year. I think people said that if you were to redraft right now, Cade still goes number 1. But anyways, yeah, you got that angle. You got the backcourt angle of Garland and Donovan Mitchell against Ivy and Cade. That's going to be fun. Yeah, dude, that might be the game. Out of that game, though, like, what matchup are you looking forward to the most?
Probably Duren and Mobley. I want to see because when Duren went up against Chet Holmgren in college, even though Chet Holmgren did beat him, put him on his ass a couple times.
Yeah.
And I think Duren's capable of that. I think that's a matchup that I hope I get to see. I don't know how much Duren will play. I'm hoping he does play a lot against Evan Mobley because it'll kind of see like where he's at, like as a player. Is he close to being a starter? Because he's knocking on the door. Um, I want to see Jaden Ivey go up against Donovan Mitchell because
That
there's
was
some people making like comparisons
yep.
to like Jaden Ivey and Donovan Mitchell of like a Spider-Man meme. Like we're the same player. Like
Yeah, I
um,
seen that.
yeah, like I think the Cavs game is kind of underrated because everyone's looking at the Bucks. Like we already know Giannis is going to play like 28 minutes and have 40. Like he might actually sit out of the second game, and they probably still win.
I got Brook Lopez on my fantasy team, so I'm hoping at least 3 threes and maybe like 5 blocks because he's done that. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm actually my favorite matchup is Ivy and Donovan Mitchell. That's probably my favorite right there. Garland and is Darius Garland, is he hurt? Is that what you had said? Or
Yeah, he got poked. So he's on my fantasy team, and he got poked in the eye, like opening night.
oh, and he still hasn't returned. He's actually been ruled out for Sunday. Wow. Man, he took 25 field goals in 13 minutes, it says.
Yeah.
Oh, that's his percentage. My bad. I was gonna say, like, how do you do 25 shots in 13 minutes? That's crazy. Yeah, so it'd be Ivy and Mitchell. That's the matchup I really want to see the most out of those two. And then I think you're right, dude. Duran and Mobley. That should be a lot of fun. But also Bojan and Mobley, you'll probably get something like that because they both play the 4. That might be interesting. See if Bojan can keep the scoring up. That is interesting. So we'll see. But are we in agreement that the Pistons go 0-4? Or do you think they go 1-3 this week, or what are you feeling?
I think 0-4. I think the only game where they might have a shot is against the Cavs. I think because the Pistons, like historically, if you look at the just like the overall records, like head to head against like the Pistons and Cavs, it's pretty good. I think the Pistons playing the Warriors and the Bucks, they're going to see what winning basketball and playoff teams look like. Not to say the Cavs aren't a playoff team. I do think they are, but I don't hold them as at the same caliber as I do the Bucks and the Warriors. So I think maybe, playing, more competitive teams can kind of get their, competitive juices up, and maybe they could shock Cleveland and come out and play some good basketball.
I mean, I'm hoping they do. Like we both said 0-4, but I want to see the Pistons win a game or two this week. And I'm with you. I think Cleveland is probably the most realistic shot for the Pistons to win because they're without Garland. Well, as of right now, they are. And dude, it's just they got a lot of players on that team, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just it's an interesting team, but I think the Pistons they have a shot against the Cavaliers. I'm with you on that. So I
for
agree.
sure. I did want to talk about something that
Okay.
we didn't get to talk about last week. And it's a player we traded for, and then it got rescinded.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about Bol for a couple minutes.
Okay. All right.
Because I believe that was opening night, playing the Magic, and we see Bol out in the court with Mo Bamba and Paulo.
Yep.
I don't know about you, man, but he looked healthy. Didn't see any ankle injuries.
I don't want to talk about Bol because I'm so disappointed the Pistons going to keep him. Dude, 6 games so far, he's averaging 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks a game. And he's shooting 64% from the field on 6 shots. 3-point percentage kind of sucks. But if you just take the 2-pointers, he's shooting 72% from the field. Dude, it's insane. Bol, yeah, dude, he's a solid player. He's going to be solid.
Yeah, like
Do you hate Bol?
no, I don't hate Bol. I just don't I think the Pistons got cold feet because I think they really like Randy Magruder, and he's a guy that can actually shoot the ball, doesn't play 8 minutes, which I don't understand. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother podcast. No, like I'm happy. Like, dude, he literally played point guard last night for the Magic. Jalen Suggs was out, and Markelle Fultz was out, and he was playing point guard. Like they were playing like freaking. I think their whole lineup was like everyone was at 6'8" and above. It was like absolutely insane.
So you're saying like you're kind of pissed off the Pistons got cold feet and didn't take a chance on him.
Yeah, because they tried to say he wasn't healthy and he'd never play basketball again, and he looks fine. Like he's protecting the paint. Like you said, he's shooting at a really high percentage from 2 pointers. Um, to me, would just be like a nice bench piece. Like, can you imagine? Like, let's say I don't know if they still don't trade for Bagley, but could you imagine like a Bagley and a Bobo off the bench?
Okay, I'm going to share something with you. In his first 53 games in the NBA, guess how many blocks Bol Bol had in his first 53 games?
Uh, like 75.
18. So he had 18 in his first 53 games, right?
Oh, I
Guess how
thought you meant
many
Bagley.
guess how oh yeah, my bad. But guess how many blocks he has in 6 games this year for the Magic?
Like 30, maybe.
14. 14.
Okay.
It's not a crazy amount, but 18 in his first 53 games, and he has 14 in his first 6 games with the Orlando Magic. The Pistons absolutely misfired on that trade. Wow. Wow, you're right. They probably damn. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if they trade for Marvin Bagley though. That's my one thing. That's where I kind of have to like look at like a 30,000 foot view and like, okay, well, they rescinded the trade, but then they kind of traded for Bagley, so maybe it was kind of like a makeup for not getting Bobo. But I mean,
Ooh, you just said Marvin Bagley was the second choice.
well, I mean, technically he was.
Yeah, no, I'm just messing with you. That is, oh man, damn it, dude. I want Bol Bol. I want Bol Bol in Detroit. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen now. This sucks.
Yeah, he's
Dang
about
it.
to get paid probably, get a big contract after he's done with Orlando if he keeps that pace up. Like that's insane. Like he's so tall. Like when he was playing the Pistons, like he was just putting the ball in the basket so effortlessly. And I was just like, bro, that's insane. Of like how easy he makes it look.
He's on pace right now for 188 blocks on the season.
Dude. That's elite. Honestly,
And all we had to do, and all we did is traded. All they did is traded Rodney Magruder. Oh my god! You could have had a guy that was supposed to be what the number 1 pick in his draft class, but because he gets an injury at Oregon and he slips to the 44th pick, and oh my god, dude, I can't believe it.
yeah. I know a lot of Pistons fans they were like, yeah, man, like he looks healthy. Pistons dropped the ball there. Like
Hmm.
I like Ronnie Magruder though. I do.
I do too, but man, like if you want to build a contender, you got to take
Yeah.
the people over the Magruder.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, maybe the Pistons. I didn't know how close they were. Like a lot of the younger players, like they look up to Ronnie Magruder like crazy. Like I know Isaiah Stewart is very close with Ronnie Magruder. Like I think he was saying it like on a podcast of like how I believe it was Bun and Cardigan, if I remember correctly. Shout out to those guys over there, saying how they or Ronnie Magruder is like kind of like the dad of like the group. Like everyone comes to him for advice. Um like guess he's like the leader of like the group text and all that stuff like that, and
Cool. That's
kind
cool.
kind of just takes the Pistons under his wing and shit like that, which I kind of gained a lot of respect for him about with that. But I did want to talk about the Bol situation because I saw that opening night and I was just sick to my stomach.
You know what you do when you don't want to give up Rodney Magruder? You find another player that you can make that trade work. Like, get rid of Josh. Should have got rid of Josh Jackson. He's only 23 years old still. Wow.
That's crazy.
I can't. Wow. That it's even just in the first 6 games, like 10 and 6, like yeah, the 10 points and 6 rebounds. Like, all right, I mean that's decent. It's 18 minutes a game, but it's the 2.3 blocks and the ability to shoot the ball, and then the ability at 7'2" to put the ball on the ground and do like we all want Victor Wembanyama in Detroit. We had him in Bol Bol, and we took away the trade. We took away our Victor W. Man, we could have had him a couple years earlier.
I don't want to put Victor and Bobo in the same category, but I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying for sure, man.
I'm
Like,
just saying a 7'2" freak of nature being able to dribble the ball. That's it.
honestly, man. But like I said, I just saw that. I wanted to get your thoughts on it because, like, I was like, I gotta ask Lance about this. I don't want to text him about it. We gotta talk about it on the podcast
I,
because
I appreciate you bringing it up. That's good. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sleep tonight. I might lose sleep over this thinking about it because I'm just thinking of the possibilities with Bol in at the 5 right now with this, or even, dude, imagine him and Duran together just for 6 games. They're each blocking shots. Oh my God, dude, you wouldn't even know what to do, man. You start Duran, and you're like, man, I'm afraid to take the lane. I can't wait till they put in their backup big. I'll be able to drive the lane again. Then you put in Bol, and you're like, oh fuck, like I can't do anything.
so the Pacers game last week, right? Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Smith,
Yep.
right? Pistons almost traded Sekou Doumbouya for Jalen Smith when he was in Phoenix.
Don't even remind me of that, Anthony, because I was high on Jalen Smith. I loved Jalen Smith, and I wanted him. Oh my!
Dude, Isaiah Jackson from Pontiac, Michigan. Bro, that Pacers game, I know it was last week, and we didn't get to have a podcast last
Yeah.
week. Bro, they they drove the ball to the basket so much that I was just like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, you're getting blocked every time. Like, I think there was like almost 20 blocks in a game
There were
from the
15
Pacers.
from the Pacers. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, they kept driving it and kept driving it and kept driving it. I was like, I thought we were going to beat the Pacers. We both had them beating the Pacers.
Yep.
And for 3 quarters, they were beating the Pacers, and they just blew it.
Dude, how did you feel about Benedict Mathurin just taking it so personally that he was drafted 1 spot after Jaden Ivey?
Bro, he was talking his shit. Like, he was talking to the bench, like, he was talking to Ivy, and I was just like, bro, like, Mathurin's a dog, though. Like, shout out to
Dude,
him. Like,
he is I love Benedict Mathurin. Like I said, when I was doing another podcast, I would have been happy with Benedict Mathurin if, Jaden Ivey went top 3. But I'm glad we got with Ivy. But holy crap, dude. Benedict Mathurin, man, he looked awesome against the Pistons. He was awesome. Man.
honestly, man. This just draft class is so stacked. Like, someone was saying that Troy Weaver dropped the ball because we didn't draft Shadon Sharp. Because Shadon Sharp's looking really impressive out in Portland. No, it's just like this whole draft class is so talented.
Dude, Benedict Mathurin, 19, 5, and 2, shooting 44% from the field and 37% from 3. Dude, and he's coming off the bench. He's coming off the bench and averaging 19 a game. Like look, Ivy was the perfect pick, but damn, Indiana got a good one with Benedict Mathurin. I got to look up Shadon Sharp's numbers right now, man. Because get any questions from anybody, by the way?
Yeah, we've had a couple. Bravo, man. You come with the questions. He wants us to talk about Dwayne Casey's lineups.
They suck. I don't know. What do you want us to say about them? Like, they're not, like, we were talking a little bit about earlier on the podcast how they've handicapped and done a disservice to Killian Hayes with that crappy lineup they keep putting him in, man. And it's not disrespectful to the players playing out on the floor, but it doesn't work with Killian Hayes with that lineup. And why are we only getting a few minutes of Caden Duran each game? I don't get that either. It blows my mind. And another thing, why is Casey not staggering Ivy and Cade? Like, you can start them together and you can play them together a lot, but like, I feel like one of those dudes should always be out on the floor for the Pistons. And I don't know, there's a lot to complain about with Dwayne Casey's rotation, his lineups. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot to complain about, man.
Yeah, like even like we were talking about Killian earlier, like he kind of handicaps, like whether it's Corey Joseph out there with him, like he was forced to play Livers played Livers a lot when Ivy was out the first Atlanta Hawks game, and Livers looked really good out there. I think he had like 12 points to end that game for the first game against the Hawks. And then he did stagger Ivy and Cade, but then he kind of admitted that the doctors kind of told him to like stagger the minutes. And I saw a joke on Twitter. Someone's just like, have the doctors do the rotations.
Wow.
But for your question, Bravo, sorry. I'm a jackass. I'm always joking around. I think that his rotations are probably his biggest flaw as a coach. I think he struggles with that. And no coach is perfect. Van Gundy was terrible. Van Gundy's rotations make Casey's rotations freaking look like rocket science. I think that's the biggest thing with him is rotations. We have games where we're really close in and he takes out the players that are doing well. Like the Hawks game, Jalen Duren and Killian Hayes had that energy. They had that juice flowing. What do? Bring in Beef Stew and Corey Joseph. Nothing against Beef Stew or Corey Joseph, but at the time, Jalen Duren and Killian Hayes and Cade, and they were playing really good basketball, and you rip it out, and then we lose that game. So it's like you got to play your hot hand. Like if you have a bench unit or players that are playing well, keep them in the game because like you're messing with the flow and you're messing with the chemistry. But I just think that's his biggest flaw right now is rotations. I'm glad Bravo did bring that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Bravo. Bravo. That was funny.
Let's see. So we got a question from Wes Weaver Jr. Shout out. Should we go after Primo? The Spurs released him.
Did you hear why they released him?
I did. He's going through a lot of mental health, and I don't think he's going to play basketball until he's feeling better mentally. But to your question, if the Pistons wanted to go after him, they could, but you would just kind of play the waiting game to see when he's able to come back. Like I said, I don't know what kind of demons he's fighting right now, but hope he's okay. Hope he can get, back to playing basketball because he was a high draft pick, but I don't think the Pistons will. Should we? Sure. He's a talented player. He was the 12th pick out of a draft class from a few years ago. I mean, if you want to do it, you could.
So, I'd have to pause on Josh Primo just for a little while, just because I don't know what's going on. Like, I mean, I don't even know if I should say this out loud, but yeah, he was exposing himself to women. Like I'm good on that until there's more, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why he chose to do that, but I do know that some people that have gone through some pretty bad traumatic stuff in their life, like it sounds like he has, it sometimes causes people to act out in different ways. So I really hope that Josh Primo gets the help that he needs and can get back to playing basketball. And if he hurt anybody in the process, hopefully they can heal as well. But right now I'd have to pass on Josh Primo. I would have to pass on him. He is a talented player. I remember when he was drafted, he's only like 17 years old. He's only 19 years old right now. That's what's crazy about it. But he is battling some stuff, like Anthony has said. Like he's going through something. So I would have to pass, even though he is a talented kid. But I just wish the best for him, man. I hope he gets the healing that he needs, man.
Absolutely, man. I think that, there's a lot of players going around the NBA with like mental health. And like, honestly, I was kind of shocked when I saw it last night when I was at the game. I was like, wow, Spurs released him. I was really shocked by that, but we will get to other questions. My mouse is, there we go. I don't know. That was weird. I'll just throw this. This isn't even a question. This is the comment. This is just for you since you're a Livers fanboy.
Who is? Okay, we got to talk about Sadiq Bey though. A little bit. He, dude, he's been playing. How do you think he's been playing right now?
I think that like he's kind of getting away from shooting 3-pointers, which I'm not against. I don't know like what like they sat down Sadiq Bey saying, "Hey, we want you to really work on mid range and taking it to the hoop." It seems like almost 3 to 4 times a game point line and trying to make something work around the basket. Which, hey, I'm all about players, developing and getting better, but uh, a lot of times what happens is people know that he's coming and they stand there for a charge. Happened a lot last night, but I just think the bogey trade kind of messed up his flow because all the touches that Bogdanovic is getting, we're probably going to go to Sadiq with Cade and Jaden. So I think he's adjusting again to kind of playing that third option role, which you wanted him to play in.
Isn't this kind of seems like a theme with Sadiq Bey? Like last year he struggled. Who was he playing with? Oh, Jeremy Grant. Him and Jeremy Grant kind of struggled together on the floor. Like, I don't know what it is about Sadiq Bey, and I think he's a good. I mean, I obviously think he's a solid player. I'm not going to sit here and just pretend like I don't think he's a solid player. I just think he's doing a lot offensively, like trying to do too much. And I know they're running him off the 3-point line, and he's been driving the ball a lot. It's just I want to see Sadiq Bey just get back to being a 3-and-D guy. I think that's best for this team. I think, you know, he's averaging 14 points. I think he was averaging 16 and 6 at one point, before he only had 7 points his last game. But what I was getting at, I was like, man, he's averaging 16. He's averaging 6 rebounds. His true shooting percentage is like 62%. This dude is figuring it out. I was thinking like this might be one of the best versions of Sadiq Bey we're going to get. And it might be the best version of Sadiq Bey, one of the best versions of him throughout the entirety of his career. I just don't know, but I'm kind of walking that back, man. I think he's struggling. I don't know what it is about Sadiq Bey, man. I don't know what kind of player he is. I don't know what we need from him. I don't know if if it bothers him that he's playing with another guy like Bojan. I don't know if, him being ran off the 3-point line is bothering him. I just don't know. But I think for Sadiq Bey, I just want to see him get back to what he was doing I want to see him get back to his rookie year, man. I just want to see him be a 3-and-D guy. And I like him more as the fourth option. I'm glad that Cade, Ivy, and Bojan are kind of like the first 3 guys offensively over Sadiq Bey, just because I think Sadiq Bey is so much more valuable in that third or fourth option role on a team.
Yeah, man. Like, I think we were talking about a month ago. You're like, yeah, I don't want to see him the second option. And like, they're talking about it on the Valley Sports broadcast that like how he's adjusted and how he's taking it to the rack more and how his game's evolving in that aspect. And I think it's the right move for him to try to expand his offense because players know he's a good 3-point shooter, and I think that's what he's struggling with this year is his 3-point shot's not always falling. And if your 3-point shot isn't falling, you have to have something else. He still has a post game. He's getting to the basket. And I think that's like kind of the next evolution of his game that he's trying to develop. But like I said, he's been struggling a lot, like the past 2 games against Atlanta. But I'm still hopeful. But I think that third to fourth option for him is, I think, ideally what he needs to be on this team, because if he's a second option, you're not winning too many games.
Do you think he hunts his shot a little, that he's been hunting his shot a lot early in the season, or?
Yeah, because he's been struggling a lot. He's trying to get that confidence up. And I think, he is hunting his shot, which I think a lot of players on this team are hunting their shot because the ball's just not going to the basket unless your name's Cade Cunningham or Bojan Bogdanovic. You're not really making, and Jaden Ivey, maybe 3 players, but like out of those 3 players, like who consistently are you getting offense from night in and night out? And I think Sadiq is hunting a shot a lot.
This is what I think the Pistons need to do, and maybe it needs to come from Cade, Isaiah Stewart, maybe even Sada Baby. I don't know. Maybe Sada needs to talk to him. Just say, Sadiq, you are going to get your shots every game. You don't need to hunt. You don't need to force anything. We just want to see you more comfortable and confident out there. Pass out. We're going to get you a shot. I think sometimes Sadiq Bey takes it upon himself to force something because he doesn't think it's going to be there later in the game, which I think Sadiq Bey needs. And I'm just speculating, but again, I like to speculate. So I would sit down and talk to Sadiq Bey and be like, dude, you're going to get your shots. We just want you taking quality shots because when you're taking quality shots, you're a sniper. You are dangerous. You are helping this team. But when you are forcing things, when people are running you off the line, pass it and then relocate. Don't force it. Don't drive. Don't like that's cool that he can do that and that's fine. But playing within himself and being patient is going to open more things up for Sadiq Bey. And I just don't feel like he's being patient enough right now.
I'll get to a couple more questions in a little bit, but just remember, just listening to a post-game broadcast, I got to give Grant Long credit because he has just been on the head with everything the Pistons have been doing.
Okay.
He was talking about kind of the Pistons collectively. He feels like all of them worked on their game this summer, which I think we can agree. There are individually, I think they've all added to their game. He was speculating, which, hey, he's an analyst. He's going to speculate that they didn't really play together too much. There's no chemistry. There's no communication. And he says, like, you can see it on the floor that, like, everyone's trying to do what they worked on in the summer, and they're not trying to work as a unit, as a basketball team. And you kind of see that, like, when they play. Like, I'm really big on ball movement, and the Pistons, even though, like, you look at the box score, they got, like, 26, 27 assists, and you're like, dude, they didn't even move the ball. How did they get that? Like, right? Like, you're looking at it, but I think he hit it right on the head. Like, this team doesn't really play like a basketball team right now. It's just more individuals of, Cade's going to get his, Ivy's going to get his, Bogey's going to get his, but, like, it's not like, team basketball, like what we're used to. It's really weird to watch.
It's funny that you said that because I was sitting there thinking is when you were talking about Grant Long and you were like, yeah, they all worked on their games individually. I started thinking, dude, I hope Grant Long said they didn't work together as a team. And I'm so glad he said that. I'm so glad that you brought that up because, dude, you're right. It does. It kind of seems like a lot of the Pistons are playing for themselves. Like you were just saying, like they're playing for the person on the back of the jersey and not playing for the name on the front. And that kind of sucks. And maybe they figure it out. But again, I just think someone needs to sit it down and just dude, this is why I was saying a hierarchy on a team is so important. You know what I'm saying? Because as a coach, if you were to say, look, Cade's here, Ivy's here, Bojan, Sadiq, Isaiah Stewart, that's the way we're going to do it offensively. That's the way the shots are going to go. I think you might see a better product on the floor. But when you're trying to be like, well, we hope we're not hurting it. We don't want to have hierarchy. We want everybody else to go there out and play, and we want this and we want that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Sports doesn't work that way without a hierarchy. That's why whoever said that earlier in the offseason, you're fucking crazy. Because, like, I don't care if Boston – I remember they were talking about Boston. Like, yeah, well, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they just kind of switch. No, there's a hierarchy between those two, and they know it, and then they both play to their roles. And we're not getting that with the Detroit Pistons. And when they figure that out, this team's going to be much better.
Absolutely. I just wanted to bring that up because, like, he's been so, like, I got to give a shout out to Grant Long because, like, he said he wanted Cade to be more aggressive, like in the Washington game and like on the Hawks game, like the past two games, he had I think he had 35 last night, and then he had like 29 or something like that. 100% right. Like, Cade found his shot, and then, like, it opened up the offense. He said, they're kind of just playing selfishly and individually. 100% right. Like, his analysis has been just nail on the head all season long, and I had to give him, praise for that because, like, if an analysis is seeing that, watching the game, and the coaches aren't, that's a red flag.
Yep. 100%. 100%. Man, that was a great point that you brought up, though, man. I'm glad you brought that up, man. That was awesome. You got me fired up.
That's what happens when you watch the games back.
You are a true sicko, man. I'll text Anthony. He'll be like, yeah, dude, I'm just watching the Pistons right now. I'm like, dude, the game just ended. He's like, I got to watch it again, man. It's awesome. You are a
This is
true
a
fan, dude.
this is actually a pretty fun question. How would you feel about adding Carmelo and Dwight Howard for experience and depth?
Are we adding both of them? Is that what we're doing? Because if we're adding
Yeah.
it, I would take that. I would take both of those guys for the experience and the depth. If the Pistons were not just winning, but like they're 1-5 right now, and I know the season's earlier. I mean, I know it's early in the season. It just like what me and Anthony have been saying. It just feels like a developmental year. I don't know how much they add to this team because they're very much they're both gonna. I think they're both just gonna take minutes away from people. I would much rather have a Nerlens Noel and a Ronnie Magruder sitting on the bench than Carmelo Anthony and Dwight Howard. I would rather have Carmelo and Dwight Howard on this team to contribute and help win basketball games. Like I don't want them just sitting there and talking and that. Like that's the roles of Magruder's and Nerlens Noel. I would love those two players on this team if they were ready to win and compete. That's what I would want. I think they add way more value to a winning basketball team than just where the Pistons are at right now.
So I saw this question and I was like, okay, if you could only have one, who would you choose? And for me, it would be Dwight Howard.
Same.
Because you made this comparison months ago, and I called you crazy, but seeing a lot of people compare Jalen Duren to Dwight Howard and their similarities in their game. I think he would be a really good mentor for Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart. The guy's won multiple Defensive Players of the Years, has a hell of a post game. I feel like he'd be an amazing fit on the Pistons, but like I said, the Pistons they're maxed out on roster spots unless they waive somebody or trade somebody and they open up a roster spot. It's probably not going to happen. It does sound good on paper, but like if I had to choose one between Carmelo and Dwight Howard, I'm taking Dwight Howard 10 out of 10 times.
Yep.
Nothing against Carmelo. I just think like if you want to talk about someone that could really help our centers and help them understand protecting the paint and defense and being a defensive anchor, it's got to be Dwight Howard.
Well, and not just working with them, but I mean, imagine Dwight Howard calling out, like communicating from the bench defensively, telling them where they need to be. Like it's kind of funny saying Dwight Howard is like almost a coach, but you kind of feel like it's trending that way, even though he is still kind of goofy. But when you watch those games, whether he's playing for the Sixers, the Lakers, or whoever, you can see he's always talking. Like he just seems like a positive presence too. But again, it's just the Pistons aren't very good right now, and it's a developmental year. And I'd rather see a Dwight Howard or a Carmelo Anthony on this team when they're good and they can contribute more than just being like a veteran in experience. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I like Dwight Howard though. If I had to pick out of the two, I just want it to be the right time for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading the Bleacher Report article, and I was surprised of like Rajon Rondo's not on a basketball team right now, which I found astounding. I was like, man, I would trade Rondo in for Kojo right now. Shoot.
He's really he's a little older. He's played for 16 years in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's crazy. 36 years old. He'll probably be 37 by the end of the season too. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I liked Rajon Rondo, man.
That was a good question, Wes, man. Like I love when people ask us questions where we actually have to think because it's fun for sure. How do you explain our another question from Bravo. How do you explain our defense? Casey is defensive minded, but our D is much worse now. Why?
Kind of what we were talking about on this podcast. Nobody's communicating. Nobody's talking. Then it seems like Anthony had pointed out. It seems like they're tuning out Coach Casey when he's telling them with their hands up and he's telling them, coaching them defensively. you pointed out, it seems like they're tuning him out. And I just think the biggest thing that's hurting them defensively is not having someone communicate. And switching is stupid all the time in basketball. I hate it, dude. It's such a lazy way to play defense. I hate
Yeah.
the switching constantly. I just feel like it's an easy way to pick apart a defense, and they need to get away from it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you communicate during switching, it can be very effective. But
Yeah.
like I said earlier, you don't really have a guy on this team that says, he's going to be there, he's going to be there, like communicating, like, hey, watch out for, the corner three or anything like that. No one communicates. Like, when you watch a Pistons game next time, watch when they switch and watch who's talking and who's just standing there, because you'll see it. They get caught where there was a play against the Hawks. Trae Young was coming down, shooting a three. They were all talking to each other, seeing who's got who. Trae hits a three, and the Pistons get the ball next possession. Like, they're still learning this defensive switching. I think if they get it down pat, that can be another tool they can use, because they were playing all zone last year. Like, they weren't even switching into zone. They're mostly, switching everything right now because they're trying to learn it, which I think it's a good tool for this team in the future. But I'd rather them just play man-to-man defense, communicate, whether you want to, send some help at the rim, you can do that. Like, I really like the way Van Gundy played defense here in Detroit, because you didn't see Van Gundy doing switching. You didn't see Van Gundy playing zone. Like, Van Gundy was man-to-man. And I hate to even say this, but I think Van Gundy was a better coach than Dwayne Casey. Like,
That's interesting.
Van Gundy had this team, like, I know it completely different timeline, and they were trying to win, but like, he had the players ready. They knew their assignments. Like, you didn't really see players get beaten. Like, we weren't getting waxed, like losing by 35 points or 20 points on a regular basis like we are now. And I get we're rebuilding, but like, even when we started 5-23 under Van Gundy, like, we still played hard, and like, we started winning games, and that the team was more collectively sound defensively. Like, to Bravo's point, Dwayne Casey was the defensive specialist under Rick Carlisle in Dallas.
Yep.
Defense is supposed to be his specialty, and the Pistons are one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. I mean, they just let Atlanta score 135 points on Friday. Like, that's really bad.
What I hate though is like when they switch. Saw it a couple times from Ivy. Like, he has to, like, he switches in, like, again, you're saying, nobody said anything, so then he has to recover. And when he recovers, it sucks when he has to do that, or anybody has to recover. That's why I hate it. But also, when they're switching all the time, I notice that teams, since they know they're doing this, they're countering it by trying to put it big on a guard, and teams are getting that against the Pistons, and it's hurting them. So so stupid, dude. It's so frustrating to watch, because there's sometimes when a team will come down and set a pick on a player, and like, it's almost like the player's like, yeah, I'll just switch. I don't have to fight through it. And I hate that, because they could very much fight through it, and it creates something different defensively. So I don't know. It's just a mess defensively. I mean, I don't want to say Dwayne Casey doesn't know what he's doing, but it kind of seems like we're entering that territory a little bit defensively with this team. I should say, with this group of guys, we're entering territory where it seems like he doesn't know what defense to play them in to get the most out of it.
What I noticed, because you said something that it was just a red flag in my head. You said they look for the point guard. You know what teams look for so far this season? They look for Corey Joseph.
Yes.
And they, like, Onyeka Okongwu was doing this like all last night. Him and Trae Young or Clint Capella, whoever was out there, they were looking for the weak link. They hunt Corey Joseph because they know what they're looking for. Like, during the preseason, Jose Alvarado, who's a very good player, up-and-coming player in this league, said that I knew they were switching everything, and I was just waiting to get to my spots because the defense is very predictable. And anytime you hear an up-and-coming player that's not like really a star saying that your defense is predictable, that kind of tells you all you need to know about like how to attack them. And I think teams know how to attack us. And I think that's the problem. I'm not giving hope on the season. Still have faith. I think there's a lot of bright spots in this team. A lot of young players that we like Cade, Ivy, Duran, Livers. Like this team is exciting. It's youthful, but there's going to be some growing pains in between. And I think if Pistons fans accept that and they don't have like this, we got to win, we got to win, we got to win, we got to make the playoffs, we got to make the play-in tournament. Like the play-in tournament, you're probably going to have to win at least 38 to 40 games.
Yeah, especially
like
the East.
Bare minimum. Like the East is very competitive this year.
Yep.
Like extremely competitive. I'm not sure if the Pistons can kind of compete with, kind of like, I don't want to call them bottom feeders, but like those teams that are kind of around like that, 12 through 10 range, because like the Knicks could be a freaking play-in team for all you know.
Yep.
I still think this team's future is incredibly bright. I think you have your backcourt set for probably the next 10 seasons with Cade and Ivy. You got a centerpiece now in Duran. You got your starting center. You have rotational wings in Sadiq and Livers. Like future is very bright in Detroit. We just have to be patient with it.
Yep. No, definitely, you're right. And I didn't want to seem like I was so negative, but like I kind of expected, I didn't expect a lot this year, just expect a little bit more. I just want this year to be a developmental year, get the most out of the young players, and just be competitive. Like that's it. That's all I want. I'm not asking for much though, man. I'm out on us winning a lot of games this year.
For sure. We do have a coaching question, and then we'll wrap it up because we have almost been on for 2 hours, which is, I think that's the longest we've ever been on before.
Oh, it definitely has. But it's been fun, man. I love that we're able to do this for almost 2 hours. And like, I'm looking at the time, I'm like, I could still go. This is fun. I'm enjoying it.
I think we spent like 30 minutes just on the Killian topic alone. I think that's why it's a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, no, the Killian Hayes topics could just be a podcast in itself.
How long before we need a new coach, and would Mark Jackson be a good coach for them?
I said that this year you would start to see the seat get warmer for Dwayne Casey, and I still think that's the case. I just don't think Casey is the right guy for this team. I don't think he's going to get the. I think he's a wonderful person. I'm sure he is. It's just he's not getting the most out of these guys, and I think it's going to be ultimately a detriment. I think Mark Jackson would be a solid coach for them. I think he's. The only problem is he's been out of coaching for a little while now, so I'm not really sure what I would think about Mark Jackson, but he got the Warriors on the right page before they hired Steve Kerr and won a couple championships, so maybe he could do the same thing for the Pistons. But I'm kind of hoping this is the last year for Dwayne Casey in Detroit as the head coach.
I've said it for seems like a couple of years. I think Jerry Stackhouse is your next coach.
That'd be cool. I like that.
Notice how he was at the Teal unveiling. I think the Pistons know that Dwayne Casey probably after the season probably wants a front office job or some kind of a consulting job, which I would be open to, throw him up in the front office. Guy's been around basketball for practically his whole life.
Yeah.
I would love Jerry Stackhouse. I think Jerry Stackhouse, a lot of people forget he was with Dwayne Casey, but he was with the Toronto Raptors G League team where they won a championship.
Yep.
905 Raptors. He won a championship his first year. He is at Vanderbilt right now, but I think he would be open to coaching the Detroit Pistons. I think you kind of need that young blood for the Detroit Pistons to coach. Nothing against Dwayne Casey, but, we've had over probably the past 12 years, a lot of these coaches are older. I mean, you go to Maurice Cheeks, to Van Gundy, the Casey, like you need like a Kenny Atkinson, a Tyronn Lue. Like, I just think you need someone that can really develop these guys. Nothing against Mark Jackson. I think Mark Jackson will always be a top candidate for any kind of coaching job. Like, the Kings had a prime example to get him, but they decided to go with Mike Brown, and I believe I think they were like 0-4, but they did have a game tonight. They may have won it. I'm not sure, but
Dude, they were up. They had 71 points in the first half.
oh, there we go. There we go.
They were up 71-49 against the Heat at the end of the first half.
Yeah, man. Like I think you need to go for a young coach for this team because I think they can relate more. I think Stackhouse would be a phenomenal hire. I've been on him for a long time. I think he's just a coach that just makes so much sense for the Pistons too, because he was a Piston. He said even after he got traded, he was like, the Pistons still felt like family to me. Like I love the Detroit Pistons, and when I hear that, I want a guy like that to coach my team. Kind of missed the ball with Chauncey Billups. He's out there in Portland coaching his ass off. Shout out to Chauncey, happy for him. But I'd love to see Stack as a head coach for the Pistons.
Same. I got his jersey hanging up in my closet. So I love Stackhouse. He was one of my favorite Pistons before they won the championship. I loved him. I would love to see him back in Detroit as the coach. I think it's a great name. And I think you're right, man. Just getting someone, man, this dude has gone through the gauntlet of coaching. The G League, he's been on an NBA bench, and now he's a head coach in college. And he's just a guy that loves basketball, man. Like, even when he retired, he just was like, man, instantly just right back in the game. So
Yeah.
I want that from a coach. I want a young guy. I want a guy that can connect to the players. He knows what it's like to be an NBA player. He was at the college level, so it shows that he can connect with younger guys, which is what the Pistons are. They're a young team. They need a younger guy that can connect to them and talk with them. So, yeah, I'd be all in on Jerry Stackhouse. I don't know if Mark Jackson ever gets a head coaching job, though, again, in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, like I think he should though, because like I don't know why the NBA is blackballing him the way they are. Because like if you look at the Golden State Warriors before they were the Golden State Warriors, Mark Jackson was responsible. He was telling everybody that would listen, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are the best shooting backcourt of all time. And everyone like laughed at him. But he was right.
Yep.
100% right. Like Mark Jackson built the Golden State Warriors so Steve Kerr could win those championships. Like Steve Kerr just landed in a perfect situation.
Hell yeah. He what did he go? What was his I know he had a decent I'm just checking out. Oh yeah, his last season with Golden State, he had them 51 and 31. 23, 43, 47, 35, 51, 31. That was his record for 3 years with the Golden State Warriors. And then he's been out of the league since 2013, 2014, last season in the NBA, and he hasn't had a coaching job since. And the reason I said that, the reason I said he probably will never get another head coaching job is because he has very much been like blacklisted from the NBA. It's kind of crazy. I've read a few things, and some of this, I don't know if any of that is true, but if some of that was true when he was the head coach at the Warriors, he is a funny individual. I'm just going to put that out there. And he might be a little crazy. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember I was reading a book when Jason Kidd was in Milwaukee, and some of the stuff that, like, he would tell players, like, it's kind of, you gotta have to be careful of like what you read online and what you believe, because like the troll accounts on social media this time of year are just funny. Like I saw a Tom Brady one earlier today and I almost fell for it until I looked at the like you got to be careful of what you read on social media though. But I want to wrap this up because I know you're probably exhausted. You worked all day. I worked all day. So why don't you tell the people where they could subscribe to the podcast, how they can support us, and all that great stuff?
Well, my Venmo and Cash App are here. No, I'm just kidding. They'll be posted in the description of this podcast. Thank you guys for listening to the Pistons Talk Podcast. Do us a favor, go to Google, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. After you subscribe, leave a review, drop a rating, but more importantly, tell a Pistons fan.